I found out at my mom's funeral that she wasn't really my mom. I stood at my mother's grave, thinking I knew who she was. Then I found out she wasn't even really my mother. Not biologically. Not by birth. And somehow, that made everything feel like it was built on air. A life made of memories that suddenly didn't belong to me anymore. My name is Eric. I'm 47. My mom, at least the woman I thought was my mom, died 2 months ago. Stroke. Quick. No warning. One moment she was baking cookies for my daughter, the next she was gone. Just like that. Silence where her voice had always lived. Her funeral was small, intimate. Family, old neighbors, a few church friends. I gave the eulogy. Talked about her kindness, her patience, the way she never missed a school play. I said she was the strongest woman I knew, that she was my hero. And I meant every word. After the service, I stood outside with a cup of coffee, numb. That's when Aunt Clara walked up. She hugged me too long, looked me in the eye and said, "Your real mother would have been proud of the man you became." I froze. "Real mother?" I asked. She blinked, realized too late. "Oh, I thought you knew." I laughed. A confused, nervous laugh. But something inside me twisted. The kind of twist that tells you a door's just opened and behind it is something you're not ready for. That night, I went home and stared at the photo albums. Looked for clues. Looked for gaps. And suddenly, they were everywhere. No photos of her pregnant. No baby pictures from the hospital. Just me, at a few months old, already in her arms. Already her son. And for the first time in my life, I started to wonder if everything I knew about myself was a lie wrapped in love. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing Aunt Clara's voice. "Your real mother would have been proud." I told myself she misspoke. That she meant Mom, not someone else. But something in her eyes said otherwise. So I went into the attic. Opened the old metal trunk Mom always kept locked. And I found it. A small box, tied with a faded blue ribbon. Inside were papers. A birth certificate with a different name scribbled out. Adoption forms unofficial, incomplete. And a photo. A young woman I'd never seen, holding a baby that looked like me. Smiling, tired, real. My chest tightened. I read the name again. Lillian Mae Parker. Age 19. Birth mother. No father listed. My mother, the one who raised me, was nowhere on the document. I stared at it for what felt like hours. Everything was shaking. The room. My hands. My identity. I called Aunt Clara the next morning. Asked her plainly, "Who was Lillian?" Long pause. Then, "Your birth mother." "She was my niece. Died in a car crash 6 months after you were born." "Your mom, well, Helen," she stepped in. "Raised you. Loved you like her own." I whispered, "Why didn't anyone tell me?" She sighed. "Because you were hers in every way that mattered. She never wanted you to feel unwanted. She thought the truth would only bring pain. But hiding it didn't take away the pain. It just delayed it until now, when no one could answer the questions I suddenly had. I felt betrayed, confused, hollow, but also ashamed. Because even in the storm of it all, a part of me still felt like Helen was my mother. Still missed her laugh. Her way of fixing everything with a warm meal and a long hug. So what do you do when the woman who lied to you is also the woman who loved you more than anyone else ever could? I called Cousin Janet next. She hesitated at first, then admitted she always knew. "We weren't supposed to say anything," she told me. "Your mom was firm about that. She wanted to be your only mother, Eric." And honestly, she was. But I didn't feel clarity. I felt split in two. Who was I without her? And who was I supposed to be with this new name, this buried past? I spent the next week chasing ghosts. I searched public records, newspaper clippings. I found Lillian's name once, her obituary. Died at 20. Single mother. No mention of me. Just survived by her aunt, Helen. My stomach turned. She wasn't just my adoptive mother. She was my mother's aunt. My great aunt. She must held me that day and decided I wouldn't go into the system, that I'd stay with family. With her. I tried to imagine her making that decision, holding a baby that wasn't hers and saying, "You are now." I thought about all the times she tucked me in, all the scraped knees she kissed, all the birthdays she planned, and how every one of those memories was built on a truth she chose not to share. One night, I sat at the kitchen table with the photo of Lillian. I stared at her eyes, looking for something familiar. My nose? Maybe my hair? I couldn't tell. I whispered, "Why didn't anyone tell me about you?" But the photo didn't answer. Only the silence did. I pulled out an old voicemail from Helen. One I never deleted. "Hi, sweetheart. Just checking in. Miss you. Be safe. Love you." I played it 3 times. Not because it gave me answers, but because her voice still sounded like home, even after the truth tried to rewrite everything. I wasn't angry. Not fully. I was grieving again. Grieving the woman I'd lost, and now grieving the version of her I never got to confront. The one who carried a secret for decades, and still tucked me in every night with a kiss on the forehead. I went back to her grave. It was early, the grass still wet from morning dew. I stood there, hands in my pockets, trying to summon anger, but all I felt was loss. Deeper this time, like I'd lost her twice, once to death, once to truth, and both left me hollow. I sat on the bench nearby and pulled out the photo of Lillian, laid it beside her headstone. "I found her," I whispered. She looked kind. I waited for some sign, a breeze, a sound, anything. I told her everything, that I knew, that I was confused, that I missed her more now than ever, that the truth didn't undo the love, but it cracked something inside me, something I wasn't sure would ever fully heal. "You should have told me," I said. "I would have still loved you." The wind finally picked up. Not a sign, just weather. But it felt like a breath. I stayed there for hours, reading the letters I'd written to her. Questions she could never answer. Regrets I would never let go. But also thanks. Because despite the lie, she gave me a life filled with warmth. Before I left, I placed the photo under a stone. Let both women rest together. One gave me life. The other gave me love. And somehow, in their absence, I felt more whole than I expected. But wholeness doesn't mean clarity. And as I walked away, the only thing louder than the truth was the silence of what might have been. I started reading her journals. Aunt Claire brought them over in a shoebox a week later. Helen had kept them hidden in a drawer, pages full of thoughts she never shared out loud. I braced for guilt, maybe shame, but what I found was love, pure, terrified, fierce. One entry read, "He looked at me today and called me Mama for the first time." I didn't correct him. I couldn't. I want to be that for him, even if I don't deserve it. I cried, not because she lied, but because she questioned whether she was worthy of the title she earned every single day. Another page said, "Some nights I wonder if I'm stealing her place. But then I see the way he laughs, how safe he feels with me, and I know love doesn't need permission." I held that page like it was her hand, like she was still here, telling me her truth in the only way she could. I started remembering the small things, the way she'd leave the hallway light on when I was afraid, the notes in my lunchbox, the way she stood up for me in parent-teacher meetings. She wasn't perfect, but she was present. And sometimes that's even more powerful than biology. I told my daughter the story in pieces. She asked, "So Grandma wasn't your real mom?" I said, "Not by blood, but by everything else, yes." She smiled and said, "Then she's still Grandma to me." Kids understand better than we think. Love isn't DNA. It's consistency. It's sacrifice. It's choosing someone every day, even when it's hard. I still feel conflicted. Still wonder what life would have been if I had known. But I don't regret being her son. I only regret not having the chance to tell her that knowing the truth doesn't make me love her less. If anything, it makes me love her more. It's been 3 months. The questions don't sting as much now. The answers still shift, but they no longer shake me. I visit her grave once a week. Bring flowers. Sometimes I bring two, one for Helen, one for Lillian. I never met one, but I carry her in my blood. I lost the other, but I carry her in everything else. Love, I've learned, isn't always clean. It's messy. It makes mistakes. It hides truths it thinks will protect you. Sometimes it fails. But that doesn't erase the care, the nights by your bed, the steady presence in your chaos. Helen chose me. Every single day. She didn't have to, but she did. And even if she kept the truth from me, she also gave me something stronger than biology, a foundation. A home. A heart that beat for mine when I was too young to understand the difference. I don't know what Lillian would have been like. I don't know if she would have raised me the same way. But I do know she gave me to someone who did. That takes courage. That takes love too. And I thank her for that, even if I never heard her voice. So here I am, a man raised in a lie, but held in real love. And now I ask you, if someone gave you their whole life, but kept one truth hidden to protect you, do you honor the love they gave or the silence they left behind?